disciples came to him, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming?"
Jesus Christ and his prophets foretold in their prophecies the signs we would see, indicating we are at the end of this age. In the prophecies, there are ancient passages of scriptures that are secrets to understanding world events foretold in Scripture, where they described signs thousands of years ago of what is happening now and foreshadowing what's coming in the future. And they're happening just like the Bible said. Now in Syria, it's getting really tense as it's heating up again with reports the Syrian regime is massing troops in preparation for a major military operation, pushing into the country's southwest into the Daraa province. Here's a video clip with some background.
The Syrian government has reportedly deployed battle tanks and artillery guns, preparing to take back the militant-held parts of southern Syria and the Golan Heights, the Israeli media says. The Hearts Daily has even complained that Hezbollah has allegedly established a Golan Regional Command Center, claiming that 100 of Hezbollah operatives and 1,000 other local residents linked to the movement operate in southern Syria.
Since then, the situation has remained tense. At the same time, the Syrian Arab Army, SAA, is reportedly preparing for a military operation against militants in southern Syria. On May 16th, helicopters of the Syrian Arab Air Force dropped thousands of leaflets over the Lahat region in northeastern Daraa, calling on militants to surrender their weapons and to accept a reconciliation deal. Such leaflets are often dropped ahead of major advances. An SAA officer told Southfront on May 17th that SAA units around Damascus are indeed preparing for a possible military operation in the provinces of Daraa and El-Quneitra. If such a military operation is really launched, it may trigger a further escalation between Syria and Israel.
This is no surprise to us, since we've said in the past that after the Syrian regime, with Russia and Iran's support, regained control around Damascus and increasingly pacified the north of the country, putting them in their strongest military position since the beginning of the war, that then they would turn their attention to the south, pushing toward Israel, as they root out rebels in southwest Syria. But Syria's coming military operation pushing into this province is very problematic, with huge potential to escalate the Syria war. You see, this province is in the very southwest corner of the country, where Syria has its border with Jordan, but also with Israel. And with a major military operation in that area from Syria and Iran with Russia's backing, it's easy to imagine how this will severely increase alarm with Israel, supported by the United States. And Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, has said that Russia believes that Syrian troops should be positioned again on the border with the Golan Heights, which has been occupied by Israel since the 1967 Mideast War. So the area between Daraa and the Golan Heights has emerged as a flashpoint in the wider standoff between Israel, Syria, and Iran. You see, there was also a de-escalation zone and ceasefire in this southwest area previously agreed to by the U.S. and Russia to freeze the lines of the Syrian conflict, creating a buffer between the Syrian war and Israel and Jordan. In fact, with the Syrian government massing troops near this area preparing for this attack, the U.S. has been issuing stern warnings to Syria not to do it. That the U.S. says it's prepared to take firm and appropriate measures in response to the Assad regime violating this de-escalation agreement. The U.S. State Department has warned the Syrian government against any actions that they think risk broadening the conflict. The U.S. and Israel are growing increasingly concerned about Iranian military activities in Syria in support of Assad. And Israel has said it wants Iranian and Iranian-backed forces kept away from its border at the contested Golan Heights. And as one of the guarantors of that de-escalation zone, the U.S. does have troops inside Syria, near the border with Jordan. But the warnings so far are having no effect, as Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is vowing to win back the area bordering Jordan and the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. And there are ground forces from the Syrian regime, Iran, and its allied militias, including Lebanon's Hezbollah, that are pouring into the Daraa province, getting ready for the fight.
قرارنا واضح منذ البداية، سنذهب لتحرير كافة الأراضي السورية. متى ننتقل إلى الجنوب أو الشمال أو الشرق أو الغرب هذا موضوع عسكري بحت، لكن نحن الآن ذهبنا باتجاه الجنوب ونعطي المجال للعملية السياسية. إن لم تنجح فلا خيار سوى التحرير بالفعل.
عاطبة بأسمى الصفات وأنبل الأحلام. يا جنودنا لصف ضباطنا وضباطنا البواسل، والله ينصر من كان على حق وكان عن حقه زائدا مدافعا. إنكم اليوم تدافع، لكننا كنا وما نزال ندفع عن أنفسنا العدوان، وندافع اليوم كي ينعم شعبنا بحريته. نحن دعاة سلام، والسلام عليكم.
Now there are negotiations that are underway with the rebel forces in that province, and the Syrian state-run media has reported that government aircraft have dropped leaflets on rebel-held areas in Daraa, urging fighters to disarm. But it seems no progress has been made thus far, and should the rebels refuse to reconcile with the government, the Syrian army is launching the offensive, and Daraa's rebels have been seen gearing up for this battle. Now, it seems clearly that things are really gearing up for this battle, because you have the Syrian government massing troops and moving troops down into the area. You have the rebel forces massing as well to meet them. And already the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights has said that over 10,000 civilians have fled the nearby areas of Daraa province in the last 2 days. Also, an independent Israeli intelligence and security news service reported that the Syrian army has already captured 2 rebel-held strategic points on its way down to Daraa and the Golan. The Syrian regime seems determined to do this offensive into this sensitive area of Daraa and the Golan. And this has all the ingredients in it to run a very strong risk of escalating the 7-year-old war in Syria along the Euphrates River and also near the border of Israel. And concerning these, they are both directly connected to 2 major last days prophecies. One with Russia and Iran at the Israel border being connected to the Gog of Magog prophecy in Ezekiel 38, which has major implications for the end times, and the other with conflict in Syria along the Euphrates River being connected directly to the Revelation 9th chapter prophecy of the coming final world war that starts there at the Euphrates River, which leads to the death of 1/3 of the population of earth. The Holy Scriptures foretold these signs we are seeing now around what is happening and coming soon in the future. For these signs are like markers on the biblical prophetic roadmap, showing us what's really happening in these times in which we live. We are on the prophetic knife edge of perilous times in the last days. Who knows what will exactly happen in this explosive situation developing now, where things could go several directions. But however it does play out, be assured of this, that it will lead us closer to the fulfillment of the last days prophecies just as described in the Holy Scriptures. You know, it's incredibly important for us to watch and stay aware of the prophetic signs and events happening around us now, and to pray to Jesus Christ and be born again into his spiritual kingdom as Jesus required in John the 3rd chapter, and also as his apostles whom he had chosen commanded and described in the 2nd chapter of their book of the Acts of the Apostles in the Bible. Be ready for the coming of Jesus Christ in these last days, which are not the end, but the beginning of a beautiful new future in Jesus Christ for those born again through him.